you grew up with your father, and maybe these are friends of, your fathers or your brothers, and with men there's more of like a fraternity. You're like, that's my man's daughter, or that's my man's sister, or that's my man's niece. We got to look after. Do you think that may play a part in it? Whereas when you are, let's say, raised by your mother, and with some of the women, they may not have the same connections. Do you think that that's the case?
Okay, first of all, I don't necessarily think that we're trying to build communities. I think
Okay.
it's a notion of it's a good thing to say, but I
Mhm.
think that typically for me to believe that we're trying to build communities, I would have to see the action of it. Just like when they say most women want to be married, but it seems like most women want a wedding, right? And they
Hmm.
want gifts. But do they really want to be married? Because marriage is work. So
Right.
I can say that I want a good community, but building a strong community, it's work. So just saying that we want a strong black community is not building a strong black community. You actually have to be putting in the work. And I don't necessarily think that most people are really focused on trying to put in the work. And that's probably why the numbers never add up. Um, I'm gonna say the community that I came from with my dad, I was raised by a single father, but we all come from a different a neighborhood. In New Orleans, we're very territorial about whichever ward or project that we're from. And in a particular project that I'm from, in a particular ward that I grew up in, it's like I know everyone. I'm baby girl. So it doesn't matter what corner I go on, they know who my mother is, they know who my father is. They're gonna protect me. All the men, even the people that are on drugs, the winos, like they're going to protect the kids. So I think as a kid, I grew up and I felt like, okay, I was protected. But my daddy always, raised my brothers to protect me and my cousins. And I come from a real male dominated family. So it's way more guys than it is girls. And it's like, I always knew, even when walking alone from the bus stop or walking to the store by myself, like, people know I'm this person's little sister, I'm this person's cousin. I'm like, they know who my family is, so they're gonna look out for me and they're not gonna mess with me. So I kind of never felt this whole notion of, oh, I'm not protected as a black woman, because I always felt like, oh, I know people are not gonna mess with me because I'm my daddy's daughter, I'm my brother's sister, I'm my cousin's little cousin, like, so people know not to play with me. And in the same way, it's certain, communities that you're supposed to be in. I know that I'm not supposed to be on this other side of the neighborhood where I know they might not necessarily get along with my family. So I know I got to stay on my side of the tracks. You see what I'm saying? Because I might not
Mhm.
have that same protection on the other side of the tracks. And I know that you said, like, if a white woman, something happens to them, the outrage is a little different. I think when you come into the black communities, the most populated times you see us together, it probably is in neighborhoods or like that we would consider like hoods, or neighborhoods that are really like, low income. And
Mhm.
a lot of times we're desensitized to the crime. So it's like it's normal to see men and women fighting. It's normal to see women fighting. It's normal to see people die. Like, they even say my high school is cursed because every year we lose someone. And it's a high school, but every year someone dies. It's normal, since when we're kids, that we're gonna have to go to a funeral maybe 10 or more times a year. So it's like we want to be outraged, but we so desensitized because we can turn on the news and it's like somebody's dead again, and it's somebody's dead again, and it just becomes so normal to us. So what I want to see, like, how do we change the dynamic? But I want you to explain to me, like, what would protection look like from everyone? Because let's say me and my dude, we get into it and we're arguing, we're fighting. I wouldn't want a stranger to approach that, because you know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily
Right.
know if my dude would pull out a gun or do something to a stranger trying to help me or benefit me. See what I'm saying? So a lot of times I don't even want to interrupt. The most I say is, yo, I think somebody called the police. Y'all might want to, take it in. And that'll probably, ring in their head like, oh, somebody called the cops, so we need to just chill or something or whatever. But to intervene, because I've always said it, like even with family members, if that man is having sex with you and he loves you and he'll beat you this way, what do you think you're gonna do to me? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm just a woman. And even if it was a man joining in, who's to say that he won't harm this man for interfering into something? So it's like it always gets a little tricky.
Cheryl, can I ask you a quick question? Now, you said that when you were growing up, you received protection from a lot of the men in the neighborhood, all the way down to the winos, right? Now,
Right.
do do you think that that has something to do with the fact that you grew up with your father, and maybe these are friends of your fathers or your brothers, and with men, there's more of like a fraternity. He like, that's my man's daughter, or that's my man's sister, or that's my man's niece. We got to look after. Do you think that may play a part in it? Whereas when you are, let's say, raised by your mother, and with some of the women, they may not have the same connections. Do you think that that's the case?
I think that definitely plays a part, a major part. That's why I'm like a big advocate for fathers in the home and black fathers to just really be influential into their children's lives. Because I know a lot of times with my friends, what we might bump heads about when I'm telling them like be with your kid, because I think men always feel like, if I don't have the finances and I can't provide for my child, then I'm not a good father. But I can tell you that because my dad came from an older time, my daddy doesn't even know how to use a smartphone. You know what I'm saying? So the jobs that he would get back in the day, it kind of started slowing up. So we would have a lot of financial struggles, but I'm still who I am today because he never left me. Love doesn't just leave. That protection and that provision doesn't leave. So
Mm,
it's like I always say, these dudes love their broke ass mamas so much they'll go sell drugs. So it's not
mhm,
like your son is not going to love you because you couldn't buy him Jordans. My dad has never bought me Jordans still to this day, and I'm 27. So it's like it's not like your son is not going to love you, but that protection, that provision, that's why they love their moms, because my mom is here on even on the rainy days, even on the days that we may not have nothing, we're here. The lights are off, we're still here as a family unit. She's not going to abandon me. You know what I'm saying? So I do feel like that. So even though my daddy didn't always have the finances, his protection was always sound. And because of that, I do feel like that played a major part. But my mom was still in the same neighborhood as me. So even if somebody didn't know I was my daddy's daughter, they would know it's my mom's daughter. You know what I'm saying? And that made, because my mama friends were a lot of, drug users or winos and stuff like that. But I mean, I can still go into that same community today, that same exact community that I grew up in. My grandmother's house, that it's been in the family for over, I guess, 60 something years now, you know, and it's a lot of black homeowners in it. And some of them lost their houses, but for the majority, there's a lot of black homeowners there. There's like a older lady. She's the grandmother of our neighborhood. There's an older man, which he's like my grandfather, and he's 95, and he's like the grandpa of our community. He owns a lot of different businesses in the community, and it's like we're all, a lot of stuff go, but when it comes to the children and the women, like we're always going to be able to step in, intervene, and have that type of community. So I think when you come from a strong community, it can be better. But I'm not saying that, okay, so I got this protection in the fourth wall, I got this protection in the ninth wall. I'm not telling you I can go uptown in the third wall and still have that same protection. You see what I'm saying? Because they don't know me there. So I wouldn't feel protected there. But I never thought that I should have protection everywhere. That's why I said, like, I carry a gun because I'm over the road now, right? So I'm everywhere, in every state, all over the place, but I mean, I still, like, if I have an issue with my truck, um, men of every race, I've had African men, I've had black men, I've had white men, I've had Arabian men. They stop and they're nice and they help. So, I don't necessarily feel like I benefit from pretty privilege or whatever because I'm real tomboy. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm not like really a girly girl. I was raised by a single father. So, you know, I've never been there. I've always been more tomboyish. So it's like, I'm not even like the hot woman that looks like a damsel in distress. You know, I'm real homegirl vibes. You know what I'm saying? But I still feel like if I invite people in to help me and I'm appreciative and receptive to it, like you know, I receive that.